What is up, guys? I'm filming another episode of the Never Ever Mets. This is episode 2 recap. If you are new, subscribe, like this video, comment, check out my other videos, check out my podcast, Pretty Open-Minded. What else? Trending post vacations, check out my other videos if you haven't already. And yeah, if you haven't checked out episode 1 recap, make sure you do. It's on Patreon and it's on here. And I'm starting to post on my Patreon, so make sure you check that out if you would like to support me. Still, it's very appreciated. So per usual, I have my notes because I don't want to forget everything. The last 2 episodes have been kind of like 3 and 4 definitely weren't like super interesting. So I know there's not gonna be a lot to cover on that, and then this episode there wasn't a lot to cover, so it's probably gonna be like a short one. I know that my first one was like 30 something minutes long, but I think it's because I was introducing everyone. But into the little Dom and Alexis, the aftermath of what happened. So after the aftermath, I mean the altercation, Dominique was sent to a hotel for the night, and then the host pulls Alexis aside to tell her like they saw the footage and they weren't with that. Basically we're like, you guys are off the show because they have a no touching policy. I think I mentioned that in the first recap. Like, they have a huge no touching policy. Like, if they see that you guys are like beating each other up, they like immediately kick you off the show. But she also whips out her little computer to show Alexis a video that Dominique made for her. Basically it was like an apology video. It was like the most fakest apology I've ever heard in my life. Basically he was just kind of like not taking accountability. He kind of was just kind of avoiding like the fact that he put his hands on a woman. I didn't want to go too much in depth with it because I already kind of like talked about it already, but he basically didn't take accountability. He said that he wanted to sweep it under the rug because it wasn't a big issue.
He wanted to sweep it under the rug because the fight wasn't a big issue.
In what world? He wanted to work on them. He still wanted to like fight for the relationship, but like the way that he did me was dirty, and you know, she felt like she saw his true colors. And I hope that she doesn't, you know, continue contact with him off the show. If she does, that she really listened to everyone's advice that was given to her from everyone in the house, saying how dangerous it is and unhealthy it is to stay in a situation like this, especially hearing it from a man's perspective. It definitely because Aaron, the older Aaron, definitely made some comments about how, remember that time that you had to pick up a pan and to defend yourself if you choose to talk to him. And he did say that he was also in an abusive relationship where the woman did hit him and during the whole relationship, so he did resonate with her. And I feel like he also resonated because he does have a daughter, and I feel like he saw it was like talking to his daughter when he was talking to Alexis about this situation. They both were sent home after that situation, so that was pretty unfortunate. I know there wouldn't be a point to keep her, but she was definitely like very outgoing and bubbly. I hope that she is doing well right now. But I said in the confessional, like, oh, he knows that people are going to be judging him for what he did, and that he basically said that he's going to keep talking to women online no matter what, even though he got kicked off her show for this huge issue here. So that's all that's really to say about that situation. Next, Sandia and Chris meet up outside, and they were talking about how, basically about the little conversation where he was yelling about how him and Sandia are not a thing, and that he talks to other women, he flirts with other women, and they were talking about that. So, and Sandia said that basically she didn't like his delivery on how he said what he said, that he doesn't trust women, but she is like, well, why are you here? Like, what are we doing this here? Why are we here if you're not gonna like trust me and we're not even a thing? And he wanted to still, basically he said that he still wanted to work on building trust for her. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm making up shit, but this is literally like the shit that they're pulling out of their ass. Like, this is all basically quoted verbatim. It kind of is giving middle school relationship when I see Sandia and Chris together, because they're not technically a thing, but I I feel like in Zendia's head, she thinks that they're a thing, even though she keeps saying, oh, I know we're not a thing, but she gets offended when, like, you know, when he says like comments like they're not together. And he was disrespectful, I'm not gonna lie, but they didn't really establish what they were before they got on the show. So, and also they only were talking for 3 months. So basically what she was saying was that, I don't know, they made up, I guess. And then she said in the confessional that she will still fight for the talking stage because it's not a relationship. They're just dating, I guess. I don't know, because they don't seem like they really talk either. They just kind of like are on different sides of the house sometimes. It just doesn't seem like they interact a lot together. Why she said she wanted to fight for that talking stage, I would have dead that situation. I would have dead that situation so long ago. Once I felt like on totally different pages, I would have dead that a long time ago. Probably at week 3, probably at week 2. Meet up with the host outside to do a Kama Sutra exercise to basically build a connection and try out different sexual positions. I didn't really get it, to be honest with you. I got like the point of it, but a lot of the couples don't have any type of chemistry. So watching these people do all these poses, all these positions, it was just like watching divorced parents. Rooting for, you know, Aaron and Diamond, and I'm rooting for Shay and Josh. I'm rooting for Millie and Greg, and I think that's it, honestly. Everyone else I don't really care for because it's just kind of like bullshit. So and I guess as the episodes go on, they're going to be doing more challenges, more couple challenges to build more of a connection, because she's probably looking at the footage and being like, wow, this is sad. So Zendia and Chris were the first ones to go to do this little exercise, and they do this pose called the lotus blossom position. And they're supposed to talk about how they feel as they're in those positions. Also, I do want to mention that. So he says, oh, Zendia's pretty and kind. And then he also says he wants to obviously take it further. Like, not sexual, probably is sexual, but like he wants it to be more serious, I guess. But there is no action behind those words, so I don't believe what he's saying. I don't believe what he's selling. The person who does a Kama Sutra is Shay and Josh. They did the curled angel, I think that's what it's called. And they only mentioned, it's only like Shay that mentioned that she was tingly, and then the host was like, oh, is that allergic reaction? Or, and she's like, yeah, if you want to call it that. And that's basically where it ends. Like, they kind of already been doing their own thing. There wasn't really much to say. So Aaron and Joe, I wanted to talk about that one. They do the landslide pose. Basically it was like her laying on the floor, and he has his legs over her back, and he's like sitting on top of her, but they're faced, like they're not even looking at each other. So that's the biggest, weirdest red flags that I've noticed, is that they did the least intimate pose for this exercise. It was weird, so awkward and forced. He kept saying that he liked it and that he was getting like hard, and she was just the intimacy, even though they are completely turned away. Like, she feels like since they're not turned, like looking at each other, you could still feel that they have love for each other.
Never makes you sleep better at night, Joe.
But you look goofy. You look goofy. People were mentioning in the confessional, like, it was like really painful to watch how they have, like, you could tell that they don't have chemistry. What's going on with them? They seem very off. Millie and Greg do the eagle pose, which is basically like she's laying down and her legs are spread out like this, and then he's in front of her. He kind of is like, he's basically ready to like be intimate with her, but she's just like, I want to wait, I want to wait. And I keep wondering why. I kept wondering why for the last like few episodes. Why does she keep holding on, like not holding on, like waiting on it? Which I respect it, because it's like some people were just kind of like ready to jump the gun, and before they had real like connections, they just go off of what they're talking about online, but seeing them in person is like a totally different vibe. And that's how I feel when I meet people off of like dating apps. I've been putting it off about the whole intimacy. Like, she keeps saying like she wants to be mentally stimulated before she has like sex with him, and which is cool. I feel like we have a lot of similarities with that. For Brett and Sienna, For Brandon and Sienna, this was also another thing I wanted to mention because theirs was also very odd. They do the ship pose, and basically it was like him laying down and she's sitting on his chest like a chair. And I was just like, is this fixing your relationship? How is this gonna help build intimacy and connection that you keep complaining about? How is this going to help with that? As she was doing the pose, she was already coming off very irritated, and I didn't really like understand why, because they hadn't done anything yet, but she was already like kind of rolling her eyes and just kind of pouting and shit. And Brandon said that while they were in that pose that he was bored with her, like it was boring and he would rather turn on the TV. Sienna was saying that she was trying to be more vulnerable, which I didn't really get how, because she didn't do anything, but she always thinks she's doing more than what she is what I've noticed. Like when she says she's being vulnerable, I don't ever see it. I don't know what she's seeing. And then also said that the chemistry wasn't there. So we're almost done already, which is kind of crazy, but there's just not a lot to cover on. So when Brandon and Sienna meet downstairs to play like pool, they had like a little conversation about reiterating the prior conversation they had in the beginning of the episode. Sienna said that she was down to go see him in Florida. He's mentioned several freaking times that he has a hard time meeting up with her because he has a 13-year-old and a 4-year-old, and he doesn't want to leave them. She isn't a fan of Florida. I don't know why she said this, but she goes on to say that she's not a fan of Florida and she doesn't want to go there, so she would rather him visit her in New York, where she lives, rather than her go over there. Brandon says in the confessional that she is very inconsistent with her words, because in the beginning, even in the beginning of the episode, the beginning of the show, she said, oh, I would rather, you know, I'm down to meet you, down to move in with you in Florida. Like she said, she was flexible and that it would be perfect for her to go move in with him. And now that she is in front of his face, she's doing a lot of backtracking and low-key kind of gaslighting him in a way, being like, I didn't say that. Like she will flip the script in a second when it doesn't fit her narrative. Very nauseating to hear her talk. It's nauseating to see how she acts, because this isn't how you should be carrying yourself as a woman. You are in your early 40s. Like you should not be carrying yourself like that. And I feel like in the beginning he really wanted to make it work with her, but he saw as the time went on, like she is not changing. He makes a lot of mentions how she does not listen. She doesn't let him express himself. She cuts him off a lot when he tries to talk. And it's just very annoying to watch them as a whole. Like Brandon's really expressional, but he doesn't get to be expressional in his relationship, because she will literally like dog him, degrade him in front of everyone, and it's really sad to watch, honestly. When Brandon confronts her again on being inconsistent, because it's kind of like he kind of tries to tiptoe around his words, is also what I've noticed. He doesn't even say it in an aggressive way. He doesn't raise his voice. He's never called her out of her name. But I do notice that he tends to tiptoe around his words. So he says that she's really inconsistent. She's like, oh, several people told me that, but it hurt her feelings. So obviously she didn't, you know, change it, because she felt like it was like a dig at her character, so she never bothered to like change it. Then he mentions like, it's like very scary to me that you're very inconsistent, and then she all of a sudden calls him a bitch, and I'm like, okay.
You try to overtalk me instead of listening, and you don't listen, and then I think things stack up.
Yo, you're a bitch. All right?
Wow.
You're a bitch.
That's odd. I don't know. It was a very odd response to have over someone saying that you are inconsistent, you don't listen. It's kind of inconsiderate too to his situation. So she just kept saying, you're a bitch, you're a bitch. Like she was being really like childish in this moment, because she felt, you know, called out, and she felt like he was just talking out of his ass and saying the first thing that came to his mind, which I don't know why she said that, because
She did that?
she literally did that, because he never called her out, never like said anything that is worth getting that mad about. He's just expressing himself, and I feel like you should not have to feel like you're walking on eggshells when you're in a relationship, and if you do, you should rethink that, because it's just not fun to just live that way. And I think he was starting to kind of like catch on, because he will kind of like low-key talk about her to get advice, to see what he could do, because he was just kind of like, I don't understand like why she keeps acting this way. Tug of war, seesaw, like it was like water and oil. The thing about her is that she's very I feel like I should hold this just to be like sound important. I don't know why that just happened, but anyways, I'm just gonna act like it works, but it doesn't, okay? Basically, I feel like she tends to project a lot. Kept saying like, you know,
You had failed marriages.
I don't know, she just brings up a lot of his old shit to, I guess, make herself feel better about the situation, even though it makes her still look kind of goofy. Everyone meets downstairs, which I always feel like every time they meet downstairs, it's always like the worst thing. Like there's always some messy shit happening whenever they meet downstairs. Anna like all of a sudden just starts blurting out to everyone like how he had failed marriages and he had a divorce, you know, he tried again and with them. And I feel like she did that to deflect and try to put the blame off of her, because she doesn't take accountability for things, is what I've noticed too. She kind of just like grows with it. If she doesn't like something, she will make you uncomfortable about it. It's that like New York persona, like she's just very aggressive about everything, and she's just very like, I don't know, it's not really cute to me to see that, because I feel like he wants to like her, but she's just so like rah, all the time, and it's just like, how do you talk to someone when they're just like at 100 all the time? Because he feels like Sienna will stay in a marriage no matter what, no matter how toxic it is, and for him, he knows when to go like cut his losses. So he's just like, I'm not that type of person, so he's just like, I don't want to stay in somewhere that's I'm not at peace with, and I'm not gonna feel like I'm being attacked all the time. Sienna said at the table that she would rather like go to couples counseling to work it out versus, you know, dip and divorce, because hearing that he got a divorce, I feel like it really like struck a nerve on her, because I feel like she feels like it's gonna happen to them if they ever got to that level, which I know they won't. They can't even get past the friend zone, the friend stage. Like what makes them think they're gonna jump to the, like what makes her think they're gonna get to the marriage state if they can't even get to this huge obstacle right here? The huge obstacle is the communication styles, and the fact that they can't even get through a simple conversation without her getting really defensive and starts screaming. Like she legitimately screams in one of the episodes because she felt like he was talking shit about her, but he was just telling his friend that he's known forever, his whole life, that he didn't like that he called her, that she called him a bitch. Very valid, because why would you call your so-called lover a bitch? They're apparently friends, but she kept saying that she wanted a relationship, but she would be like, so like her body language is just giving like, I don't want to do that. I'm not gonna be with anyone if she keeps acting like that. Salvage relationship by going to couples therapy, but I feel like she was just saying that. She doesn't seem like the type that would want to go to couples therapy, because the way that she acts now is not giving like, I want to get help for what I'm going through, how I act. I don't feel like she really wants this for real. I think she's saying that she wants a relationship, but she doesn't want to do the work that comes with it. It's not healthy to have a one-sided relationship. It's not healthy to be in toxic relationships. But I feel like if she keeps forcing something that isn't there, it's just always going to be a toxic loop for her that she's just not going to understand. Like, why does this keep happening? You know? That's basically all for this whole episode. There wasn't really much to cover here, like I said. I hope you guys enjoyed. I probably will bring this mic in. I really want to get this working because I want to get this working because I feel like this will kind of like make it look more secure. And I don't know, I don't think it's the best mic though, because like I tried using this and it kind of like I had to hold it upwards so it didn't make this buzzing sound. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, make sure you are following me on all my socials. Everything's linked down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.